Sheila Lloyd, I know you wanted no fuss, but a big thanks from all of us for your service as chief nurse and your dedication to the NHS over many, many years. Hello everybody, happy St David's Day. My name is Toby. Thanks for tuning in for the Friday vlog. And I want to start with a bit of an appeal for your help. For most of the last 5 months, I've used quite a lot of time within these films to talk about our clinical and organisational strategy across Ardash. That's our commitment to nurture the power in our communities and try and deliver over the next 4 years on our 28 promises. Now, there's a QR code on the screen and it's out in internal comms in other ways, because we really just want to get a bit of a sense, firstly, of whether you've heard of the strategy, what you make of it, whether you've got any questions about it. So if you're a regular Friday watcher of these films, you probably reckon I've talked about 18 of our 28 promises, but there's a number that I haven't mentioned quite so much, whether it's Promise 12 about rural communities, haven't talked so much about Promise 27 without environmental and our net zero plans, haven't necessarily explained what the Ardash 5 at Promise 8 are, because we haven't quite agreed that yet. We've got a meeting in 2 weeks' time to take best clinical advice and come to that decision. But the point of the QR code is really for you to let us know how strategy is landing where you are. You could have questions, you could have comments, you could just want to give a big thumbs up for the ambition that the board and the leadership are trying to work with partners to deliver something truly transformational in North Lincolnshire and South Yorkshire. Either way, have your say, get involved. It's really important because we can adjust as we go along, but we can only do that if we've heard your voice and got your feedback. So thanks for doing that. It should take, I guess, well, depending how much you write, about 1 minute. Over most of this week, I've been spending my time with our teams who don't necessarily provide patient-facing or clinical services, but are the absolute backbone of what we do across the organisation. So for the first time, and I'm doing this every 8 weeks going forward over the next couple of years, I'll be spending time, for example, with our leaders in our HR function, in our finance function, Mark and the team in our estates function. I'll forget somebody now, but obviously corporate assurance too, our communications team who works hard to make these films, and our clinical leadership and corporate functions too, running services like complaints, leading our research efforts, or supporting and developing our magnificent social work workforce in our organisation, all 84 of you, and growing fast. It's been a really humbling experience actually to get a sense of the full range of what we're doing, and also make sense of how many of those teams are adjusting and thinking about that strategy and those promises. Because a large number of the promises that we have, whether it's about carers or about apprenticeships at Promise 9, are really going to rely on corporate functions, both as an employer of local people with lived experience, or in the specific functions that we have in those corporate backbone services that are going to be critical to making those changes happen. So it's common, I guess, as Chief Executive of an NHS organisation, a lot of time talking about our patients, our carers, our communities, and the clinical services that we provide. But it's really important to acknowledge and then to get into the detail of all of those backbone services across our organisation. So, as I say, a big thank you to those involved, but also recognition of those managing those teams, of some of the tensions and challenges that can arise when, for example, we bias our cost savings away from patient-facing services and necessarily, therefore, into other services in our organisation. Lots of good, positive change ahead, and fantastic to hear that the vast majority of people working in those backbone services have had or will have had by Easter your PDR. Thank you for that. One part of the work we do in Batman Services, of course, is to support staff who want to work flexibly. And as you said, I've always used these films to be very open and honest with people across the organisation as we go about making change. So over the next 4 weeks, we are exploring how we will manage our bank workforce in the future, and there'll be a proposal at the board to consider the possibility of using NHS professionals across the board in that space. Our medical bank arrangements went across to NHS professionals earlier in the week. So if you want to know more about that, get in touch with Nicola McIntosh. If you're worried that it will lead to a change in your terms and conditions and you currently work for us on the bank staff, I can tell you categorically and on camera that that is not the case. But let's have a look at that proposal at the board at the end of March and see whether that's how we go in 2024. Flexible working is really important in the NHS and we need to support it, unless you're with us on an agency basis. Because I need to be very frank with you, we're grateful for your service, but we need to bring you across onto an NHS contract of some type. As we go through 2024, we will be phasing out agency working in this organisation. Spend about £9 million on agency workers within Ardash, and at least 3 million of that goes straight to the profit line of large offshore companies. So it's really important for safety reasons in terms of continuity of care, but also for sensible taxpayer fiscal reasons that we make that change. So thank you, and do talk to your line manager and get across onto a flexible or a substantive working arrangement here at Ardash. Much more next week, but thank you so much for all the work you do if you work in one of our backbone services or across the trust as a whole. All the best.